Okay, I'm just going to do a video talking about the topic of aging. And just to kind of set the scene for you guys, basically, I am in my sort of early mid-20s now. I'm 23. And one thing that I've really noticed, I noticed it as soon as I turned 20, to be honest, how much people started talking, sort of complaining almost about the effect of aging. They were talking about stuff that, was happening to them that was an indicator that they were getting older. And it's things from back pain to, having less energy, there's less fun in your life, bit of a lower sex drive, stuff like that. And, I have these conversations with people and I'm going to go through all of these things, and explain why I think they're all limiting beliefs that people have. And yeah, all these things, people just talk about them and they just put it down to the fact that they're a bit older now. They're not 17 anymore. And look, I don't want to make this video to be some kind of forever young kind of, thing. I do think you do get older, there's no question about that. Our time on this earth is very short and precious. But I think there's a difference between acknowledging the process of aging and not taking responsibility for things that you're doing that are making you age. And I was really inspired by a video that I watched by Hamza, where he talks about I think it's one of his best videos, to be honest. It's just on his Unfiltered channel, and he just talks about how he was having a conversation with his girlfriend, who was saying that she was worried about losing her looks as she got older. And Hamza said that was a silly thing to worry about, because it's not so much about the age you are, it's more about the habits that you do that age you. And so, for example, take the example of a girl. If a girl is let's say she's she's 20, she's very attractive. But then she spends all of her 20s just drinking and, just not having any good habits, eating badly, blah, blah, blah. Staying up late, not getting good sleep or whatever. By the time she hits 25, 30, she's going to look worse because she's less healthy, and ultimately a lot of what makes someone attractive is their health, and it's the exact same for a guy as well. I don't mean to just pick on women there, but it's just use the example. But what Hamza was saying is basically with what he was saying about his girlfriend was she was doing lots of good habits, she was getting up early, doing yoga, looking after her body, eating clean, all the rest of it. And so it's not so much that she's not gonna, the same thing isn't going to happen to her, Now, again, she's, people still get older, you're still going to mature, you're going to look 30 when you're 30. But I think age is a lot kinder to people if they just have the good habits. And aging, if you have those good habits, aging isn't so much a sort of petering off of stuff, but more you almost sort of a crescendo, you almost richen yourself. So I think a good example of this actually is if you think about so you've got some grape juice, right? I don't really know what grape juice is but let's say you got some squashed up grapes and you can drink that as a drink and it tastes quite nice, it's quite sweet, it's quite a nice tasting thing. But then you put it in a barrel and you don't clean the barrel before you put the grape juice into it. You just sort of, here it is, slosh the grape juice into the barrel and just chuck it in a cellar for, 5 years. Now, when you take that barrel out and you open it up and you pour it into a glass and you drink that, how's that going to taste, guys? Well, it's going to taste fucking disgusting because it's been in a dirty barrel, it's got a bunch of bacteria in it, and it's going to be unhygienic. You're probably going to get ill from drinking it. Not a good idea. But let's say we get the same grape juice and we put it in like a clean barrel, you know, we've washed it out beforehand, and you know, we chuck it in and we put in a bit of I don't really know how you make wine, but like what is it, yeast or whatever? Like you put in some sort of some microbiological, some sort of culture of stuff, whatever it is that you put in wine. Or maybe you don't even do that. Like whatever it is, you just have a clean barrel, chuck in some grape juice, and you chuck it in a cellar for the same amount of time, and you open it up. How's it going to taste? Well, it's going to taste delicious because that wine's matured. You know, it's the sort of bacteria or whatever is sort of it's still growing, but it's like healthy bacteria. It's making the wine taste nice. It's got a bunch of antioxidants in it. You know, blah 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 blah. So it's the same grape juice, but you're just putting two different. It's two different sort of scenarios. In one scenario, you're putting. You're not treating the grape juice well. You're not treating the potential to you're not giving it a potential to grow. But in the other, you are. And it's exactly the same thing when it comes to aging. So yeah, obviously I don't know anything about making wine, but like you get the analogy, guys. You get the analogy. It's the exact same thing with a person. You know, if you have like a good life, you know, really healthy, you know, you're getting up early, you're going to the gym, and you're not drinking alcohol, like you'll still get older, but it's a different kind of thing, you know. And you know, no question about it, wine is still very different from that grape juice. You know, they're a different drink. You can't avoid the fact that you're gonna grow up, you know, and time is gonna go fast. Like that's just life, you know. Like we're in this planet for a very short amount of time, but age is going to treat you differently if you do the right habits. And so, anyway, and I think people talk about that with guys all the time because we see people like this kind of like, if you look at First Man, like this kind of male advantage journey and stuff. There is like accepted this idea that you know, men can like get ahead, you know, like they can put in the work and later on in life they'll look really good. But I think the same is honestly true of girls as well. You know, girls do have like, you know, they do kind of look better earlier on in life, I guess. But I do think there's still the same opportunity there to keep it, to hold on to it, and to flourish it if you do the right thing. So yeah, that's just worth mentioning as well. So anyway, I'm going to go through a list of limiting beliefs. I've got a whole bunch of them, and I might make these into other videos because they're all topics in and of themselves. So there's a whole bunch of things that are associated with getting older. But fundamentally, I just want to say that basically, when it comes to all these bad habits, all these bad things that are associated with getting older, there are two factors. One is age, but the other thing is the bad habit associated with with the thing. And if you can just get rid of the bad, you can't get rid of age. That's going to happen, but you can get rid of the bad habit associated with it in almost every instance. Okay, so the first thing I've got on the list is hair loss. So hair loss is something that's very associated very strongly with aging. So, you know, people get older, they start hitting 30 and they start losing their hair. But is that just a genetic thing that happens when you get older? Or is it just like you're not giving your hair like the health it deserves, the health and attention it deserves while you have it? And by this, I'm not talking about like doing the rolly thing with the needles or taking minoxidil or anything crazy like that. I'm just talking about like, are you combing your hair regularly? Are you washing your hair without shampoo, just naturally in the water? Are you putting yourself under like ridiculous amounts of stress so that your jaw's tensing up, and that's causing your scalp to be like damaging the hair follicles on your scalp? Are you having do you have a shower filter in your shower so that you're not exposing your scalp to chlorine and fluoride and stuff like that? Like all these things. Now, if you're doing all these things for like I don't know, 20, 30 years, eventually there's going to be a point where you're going to start losing your hair. Most likely, because it has that has a build-up of time. But if you just get rid of these habits, you know, if you just get rid of everything I've said in there, you could just hit 30 and like be absolutely fine because your hair's being treated like properly. The next thing I've got is back pain. So this is a really great example of how habits can make a difference. So, and this is kind of something that people realize. So like people, even my age, but even younger, like were complaining about like back pain. And this is because like our generation in particular have like really bad habits that make our back pain even worse. Like I think for the older generation, having back pain, like it still happened because people still worked in like office jobs. You know, they weren't like stretching regularly and stuff like that. So people still did accumulate back pain over time, but it took like 20, 40 years to happen. Meanwhile, now it happens really early because we're on our phones, and typically we look like that when we're doing our phones, don't we? And again, like I get people who are my age, like who are like complaining about back pain, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I guess we're just getting older, eh?" And it's like, no, don't be such a fucking idiot. Just do a bit of yoga and wear a back brace and use your phone less. You know, obviously easier said than done to use your phone less. Like I get it, but don't blame it on age. Blame it on the habit. Right, what else have we got? Losing purpose. So this is, and there is kind of two things here, like that sense of fun that you have in your life when you're young. And that kind of, you know, that's kind of very related to your purpose. Like when I'll say there's a window of when you're 16 to 18, where I think most people's purpose is just to kind of have fun and basically like sort of be in like a party environment, build social skills and like get girls and stuff like that. There is a kind of window where that does seem to be a lot of people's purpose. But the trouble is that you don't need to do this for a very long amount of time to kind of fulfill that outer layer of purpose. And the trouble is people like, they sort of do the partying stuff for a bit, and then they don't realise that they've kind of done everything that they're going to do in that context. And that now they have to move on to something deeper. They have to, you know, they're leaving school now, they've got to find something, you know, they've got to find like some kind of vocation to earn money, and they've got to find one that they're passionate about and all this kind of stuff. But the trouble is people sort of, they do all the partying stuff and then they kind of don't really realise that this is happening. They don't really realise that they kind of completed that outer layer of their purpose. And now it's time to move on to something more, frankly, more like profound, more exciting. And then they always look back to like that era of like 16 to 18, and they're like, those were the only fun times of my life. Or, you know, university as well. Like people always say that about university, like, now it's time to work for the rest of my life, you know, that kind of thing. And, you know, I do have sympathy with this, but the truth is it really that, like, that's the only fun time of your life, like that 16 to 18, or like, let's say 16 to 21 period? Or is it actually that, like, you've just completed that layer of your purpose, and now it's time to move on to something else? And, like, if you just found something that was important to you that, like, you could do, then if you went and did that, you just have so much more purpose in your life as well, and you'd reclaim that kind of fun that people have when they're young adults. So that's the thing I think you should do. And just to go off topic a bit briefly, I mean, for me, I'm so excited about this year and what I'm going to do. You know, I mean, I really was talking to someone, like I'm not really a religious person, but I was talking to someone about like what I want to do with my life and stuff like that, and I was just like, I do feel like God has put me here for a reason, you know. And like, again, like I'm not practicing, I don't practice any religion, but that is exactly how it feels. Like I don't know what it is, like maybe I'm just a very passionate person, maybe I've just done a lot of journaling, but I do feel like I've got a direction in my life, and it does feel exactly like God has just like put me here, you know, to do that. And it's not even something special, it's just, I don't know, you know, various projects that I want to get done. but I feel like there's a real necessity to do them, and it's I remember like when I was in university and a bit before that, like I don't know, just partying was like the most. That was like the sort of. It was a similar kind of draw. Like that did seem to be my purpose in a similar way. And just now I recognise that purpose layer has been fulfilled, and it's time to go deeper. It's time to work on entrepreneurship, like making money for myself, looking after my health, stuff like that. And I've reclaimed that sense of fun. And like a lot of my friends, like they aren't doing that well because they've come out of university, like where they're doing just fun like stuff, like trying to just sleeping with girls, like going out partying, stuff like that. And they haven't realised that like now that's all done, there's an even more exciting journey ahead of them. But instead they just got like just some office job that they don't really love doing, and yeah, they've got no purpose, no higher purpose to live by, and it's really depressing for them. Okay, the next one is looking good. So like we talked about this already, but just go back to it. Like people say like to be 18 forever, to have the looks of an 18-year-old, I mean, obviously there is kind of this culture of like building yourself up as a man and whatever, but I do feel like even now, like if you're like a young guy, if you do look, when you haven't had all those years of drinking and like staying up late and whatever, you do look better, you look more healthy, and I do think you lose that as you get older and you start drinking. But if you just rein it back on the drinking front a bit, you really cling on to that kind of youthfulness about you. That is really great. And if you sort of add on to that, like building yourself up in the gym and stuff, you really keep your looks basically. And I think that goes for men and women. Okay, becoming less flexible. So this is quite a funny one because I got some younger cousins who are about like, I don't know, they're like in primary school, I guess. And it's so funny because every time they come round, I'm just in awe of how flexible they are. Like so you know how like little kids just sort of jump about. They'll literally just like, they're just like a bit of, they're like a kind of, they're like a sort of doll, basically. Like, they're just so loose, and yeah, it's just like, they look like kind of some yoga, like, master. You know when you see like really spiritual people like Sadhguru or David Data, and they have this kind of real sort of, this really kind of flexible, sort of loose posture about them. Young kids have that as well. And we lose it when we get older because, for a variety of reasons, because we're made to sit down for several hours of the day, at school, and then, we don't exercise as much as we should and stuff. But you can absolutely get it back, and like, I'm on a sort of journey myself when it comes to increasing my flexibility and stuff. And I honestly think, like, it's not like, it's a fallacy to think that I can't just get back to that level of flexibility that young children have because they haven't built up all the bad habits. Okay, another one is eyesight. So it's funny, like about a year ago, I went to like I was getting a lot of stress because of exams and whatever, and I went to see like I went to an optician because I was getting these headaches, and they were like, okay, you actually are like, your eyesight is getting worse. Yeah, they gave me some glasses, and I was sort of quite curious about it because I was like, is my eyesight really getting worse, or am I just staring at a screen for multiple hours of the day? And they were a bit like, oh no, your eyes just get worse as they get older, it's natural. And it's just like, yeah, obviously like it's not a big deal, like my eyesight's got a bit worse, but like, are you seriously telling me that if I just looked at my screen less, that wouldn't have like an impact? That wouldn't improve my eyesight from doing that. But they were like, oh no, it's just natural, it just happens anyway. And I was a bit like, all right, fine, here's 20 quid for my glasses. Like obviously it's my fault that I'm looking at a screen so much, but I did think like that was a bit silly. And is there any more? I'll say the last thing I'm going to say is just losing your vivacity in life. So when you're younger, you do just have like a really great, you wake up with so much energy. And, you know, especially when you see, like, you get it with like kids who like, they want to go out, like when you're sort of 18, like you want to go out party, you've got a lot of energy to do that. But also like small kids, they just wake up at 7 o'clock and they're just so like energetic, they're so excited. And we just have this beaten out of us when we get older. And again, we just put it down to age. It's like, oh, you know, like, which is, how fucking stupid is that? That like, the idea is that, you know, we have we're like some kind of car and we have lots of energy. We've got a full gas. We've got a full tank of petrol when we start. And as we go throughout our life, like we kind of use all of that up, so we become more tired. Like that's kind of how it's portrayed. And like when you actually stop to think about it, that's fucking stupid. But anyway, I think you don't lose energy when you get older. You just lose like the habits that keep you awake and energetic. Like I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I don't have the best energy levels in the world, you know. But that's not because I'm 23. It's because I'm not dealing with stress effectively, which makes me tired, which reduces like how well I sleep. You know, my sleep schedule isn't super dialed in. You know, it's a lot better. I have a lot better energy levels when I do have like a better sleep schedule. Like I woke up at 6 today. I feel pretty good. I'd certainly feel a lot worse if I woke up at 9 o'clock. You know, I didn't get like the early part of the day. You know, but like there's so much more stuff that I'm going to do in the future to like improve it. Like the sunlight. You know, just going to bed, like getting that 8 hours of sleep consistently, you know, stuff like that. You know, until I'm doing all that stuff, I have no right to be like, oh, I guess I'm just getting older now. Now, sure, when you get to like 80 or 100 and you've got a bit less energy, like fair enough. You know, when your body, yeah, there does come a point where you're going to have less energy. But I just think, for God's sake, you know, I'm in my 20s, man. You know, like evolutionarily, like at this point in my life, I'm meant to be sustaining a family. You know, like if you look at our ancestors, not just like our sort of caveman ancestors, but even like, you know, 100, 200 years ago, like it wasn't abnormal for a man to have a family in his 20s, in his early 20s. You know, it's like, you're really telling me that, like, I'm meant to be tired at this point in my life. No, I'm meant to be full of energy so I can provide for an enormous family, you know. So, I don't know, that's just a bit silly. I just see that as a bit of a limiting belief from society. And yeah, I just think until you start doing, like, really, like, looking into, like, these sort of aging things, and, like, address the habits that are making you age, like, you have no right to just blame the fact that you're a bit older now on these things. And, like, again, just to go back to it, I'm not saying that you're not going to get older, you know, or, like, you're like, there's this guy called Brian Johnson, and, like, you know, he's sort of doing all this stuff where he's just trying to look really young and, you know, really interesting guy. And, you know, I've got a lot of time for him. But I don't blame you if you think that's a bit extreme. You know, I'm not saying, like, you are going to look older when you get older. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, time isn't moving on and, like, you know, when you hit 30, like, you're going to have the life of a 30-year-old, you know. There's nothing you can really do about that. But until you address, like, the factors at play that are stopping you from, you know, these kind of factors that are associated with aging, until you stop them, like, you have no right just to be like, oh, I'm 23 now, so I guess I'm an old man, you know. I just find it really silly. So anyway, guys, I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.